Hi, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. So, paranormal videos start this week and for the foreseeable future. First video though, so we're just going to talk about why I love paranormal so much, where it came from, I'll give you a little bit more background about that and my family, and maybe we should discuss some of the things that I've experienced that make me believe so much. Because there's a few things. I hope you enjoy the video and let's get into it. Okay, so where did my love for the paranormal come from? I contacted both my parents and asked them separately when they think they remember my love for the paranormal being at its, like, when it started to really go up, and where that interest came from. And so my dad said, I asked them both the same question, if I can figure out how to add the messages in, I will put them somewhere on the screen by me. And I asked Dad when he thinks, and he said that growing up in the house, my mum had a lot of Most Haunted and stuff like that on the TV. For those of you who've never watched or don't know what that is, it is a paranormal investigation show. It was on TV, it's now on YouTube, run by Yvette Fielding, who also has a podcast. So if you're into the paranormal, I would recommend listening to her podcast. It's super interesting. She runs that with her husband Carl and their friend Stuart and the rest of the gang. Love it, still watch it all the time. But Dad also used to watch a lot of mediums on TV, and I mentioned that to him and he was like, oh yeah, I did, I guess. I mean, but he definitely did, and it was people like Sally Morgan, Colin Fry, Tony Stockwell, Derek Okora, who also used to work with the Most Haunted team. Sally passed away at the beginning of 2021, I think, or end of 2020, but he used to work with them, and I loved it. And to this day, even now, I couldn't step away from social media, step away from YouTube for months and not watch any content. But if I'm coming to the internet to watch content, it's to find paranormal content, because I can never get bored of it. I just love watching people collect evidence, hence why we're here, hence that's what I'm doing now. I mean, I think that part of the reason as well that I'm so interested in it is, for those of you who haven't watched my first video, you can go back and watch it. It's just me introducing myself, so you don't have to, don't feel obliged. My mum is a psychic medium. There are also other members of my mum's family who have the same gifts. Mum, I wouldn't say really came to, not terms with it, but didn't start using her gifts until I was about 19, 20, maybe a little bit older, and then she went to a developmental circle, which I believe is a thing, and a lot of mediums do, to develop their gifts with other mediums. And now she is incredible. I cannot fault her, but once she started to accept it and start to come into her own with that, I think as well, it just kept piquing my interest, and I had so many questions. A lot of the times questions that my mum can't answer or doesn't want to answer. I'm working on getting her to answer them, but I always have had questions. So yeah, a lot of TV shows. I was brought up around it. My mum's a psychic medium, and so are other members of my family. My nanny and pops, who I don't know if we're watching, but if you are, I love you. They are also have similar gifts, and that's how we met them, and how they became my nanny and pops, and they are incredible. I've seen them work, and it's just mind-blowing, some of the stuff that these people come out with for people that they've never met before. And I wish I had an explanation, and I just don't. So incredible. So they really, I think, coming from a family of mediums and being around a lot of people that have that skill really inspires me. And my mum and a lot of family members used to go on quite a lot of investigations, or just certain things that fall into the category of paranormal mediumship, things like that. And I always wanted to go with, I don't know why I never did, but it really spiked my really spiked my interest, and so here we Okay, so I thought we'd end this video with just a few unexplained experiences that I have had in my life. I'm sure certain family members and certain friends that were with me while this happened will clarify that I'm not lying. There is a story that I would really love to tell you all. I will tell it eventually. I would just like my mum to be with me while I tell it, because I was very young when it happened, so mum recalls it better than I do. So when mum comes up at the end of February, I have asked her really nicely if she will sit down and film a few videos with me. So all those are coming, and I'm sure she'll talk about that experience, hopefully. I'm gonna ask her a few questions about crazy things that have happened to her since she started to use her gifts and beforehand, and things that have happened since I was younger. So that is coming. But back to my experiences. The original house that we lived in as when I was very young, so my nanny and grandpa lived there first, and then my mum and dad lived there with me and my older sister, my little sister, and my older sister was like 12 years older than me, so she probably has some stories. But this house is very, very strange. It was a beautiful house, and like to this day it still is. It's not in the family anymore, but it's still a lovely house. I know the person that lives there, or used to. I haven't spoken to them for a while. That house, just in general, so the story that I'm waiting for my mum to come and sit with me to tell, I'll let her tell it. That whole house, just there was something in it. I'm not sure if it was nice, I'm not sure if it wasn't, but it's okay. I used to have a lot of nightmares as a kid. I used to have I slept in the bedroom right at the end of the house next to the bathroom, and there was an attic door that was on the side of the house, and I just remember feeling like people would watch me in that room, and I used to have a lot of nightmares, and it was just a lot of unexplained activity there. That story, like I said, from this room is coming, so bear with me. Thing is, my experiences are a lot of that. It's feeling like I'm being watched. I can't explain certain things that have happened. A lot of like waking up and seeing someone sat at the end of my bed, just sat there. And I mean, from discussing stuff like that with my mum, it's probably just family members coming to check in when you're stressed, or upset, or just coming to check in general, because they're family and they love you. And then the big one. So the most recent story that I have, and Becca's friend Kerry can collaborate this, and I'm sure if I went back and asked the two ladies that work in the vaults in Edinburgh if they remembered, they'd probably agree, because they were there too. Me, Becca and Kerry were in the vaults, and we'd stayed behind after a tour. We went at Fringe Festival, so we were down there from midnight till 2. We just helped a little bit at the end, just like hanging around asking questions, and we asked the tour guides if they would mind taking some photos of us. So I had my Polaroid camera. We also had photos taken on our phones. You can see those over on my Instagram. But as we took the final photo, there was clear as day through the vaults. It sounded like someone had blown us a kiss. Kerry and Becca both went. I went. And even the ladies that run the tour were like, did you hear that? And a big joke was made out of it. Becca was like, oh, thanks, Mr. Boots, and was playfully like messing about. It was a crazy experience. Again, it sounds like I've not had any experiences, but most of the stories I have had have happened with my mum, and so I really want those stories to be told with her. But I think that is all for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next week for another video. Bye! Let's go! Let's go. Merry Christmas.